Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your word motivation this morning. Um, just walked just over 4 miles. Um, Legs doing pretty good. I think making progress. This morning, um, walk with a purpose is kind of the more motivation that I want to get into this morning. Walking is a little different than running, obviously. It takes some patience, and if you're not careful, you can just go on a stroll and just kind of be out there, just taking it easy. But this morning, I wanted to be intentional and walk with a purpose, kind of speed walking, so to speak. Um, I'm a slow walker to begin with. That's why I prefer running over walking. But sometimes in life, it brings you to a point where you have to slow down and your progress will not be as fast, and you may have to learn to navigate through life at a slower pace. So, um, need to learn how to walk with a purpose and just still make progress. And I know a lot of people want to celebrate miles and milestones, but I'm in a position now where I can see the appreciation of millimeters and just little growth, seeing the beauty of that. So, trying to learn to be intentional and walk with a purpose and knowing what direction you're headed and be moving in that direction. So that's kind of the thing I wanted to go to today. Just being intentional and being on purpose. And while I was walking out there, I looked up purpose on my phone. Not that I haven't known what it means before, um, but it talked about the reason or the reason something exists or was created or exists. Like it's the intended outcome at the end state. So your purpose, and it's not only walking with a purpose, but it's living with a purpose, and understanding that life is fragile and frail. And I know that all too well. All too well. I have lost friends, and something about death that makes you appreciate life. And I was thinking this week, you know, um, something about death is like it's undefeated. No one escaped this life alive, and knowing that is gives you a greater appreciation for the time that you do have, and the time that you do spend on this earth shouldn't just be wandering aimlessly. It should be with a purpose. Um, why were you created? Why are you here? And to find that out, I mean, you got to start moving in a positive direction. You can't just exist. I mean, death is the conclusion. Like it said, all good things come to an end. Um, but to make sure, you need to make sure those things are good, and that you are intentional about how you live in your life and the direction you're headed. So for me, over the last few weeks, months, I've had to separate myself from some things, from some people, and that separation is not an indictment on them, like they're destructive to me. They're just not in line with the purpose and the direction I'm headed. And that's not nothing against them. It's more on me and how I am maneuvering in my life now. It's just like I need to move in a direction that is that of my calling, so to speak. There's a saying: um, if you don't build your dream, someone else will hire you to build theirs. So I need to get on purpose and being intentional about building the things I want in life, and that just happened by accident. You know the sense of purpose when somebody offends you, and you really get upset, and something like happens, and you trying to wonder why did they do this. The first thing you say to them is like you did that on purpose. Like you understand purpose and intention of that when you're offended, but take that level of understanding to the same of applying it for your dreams. Like before you expire, you need to make sure that you accomplish what you set to accomplish. And it's not just the pursuit of pursuing things, because I'm good at pursuing things, but sometimes you can pursue things and it just be a distraction. So you got to make sure it's a worthy cause in what you're pursuing. So there's a few things I want to get into. I'm not sure how long it's going to last, but I did want to invite my best friend here today. So as you know, just about a few weeks ago, my best friend passed. Romaine Funches, Rolo is right here, my dog, and it just gives me that finality of like life comes to an end. I mean, like 35 plus years of friendship, the life that we lived in, is now is this is him, and it's like the finality of life. Like it does end. It doesn't last forever. Like my guy was 44 years old. I mean, my little brother died when he was 16, so I started learning this lesson many years ago. I was 20 when he passed, and he was 16, so I was 4 years older than him, and it just that hurt my heart as well, and it started to appreciate the brevity of life and understanding that it doesn't last forever. But sometimes we do get arrogant and we can get off purpose and we can get on to living our best life. And I know we just talked about that yesterday, but just understanding the intent of being on purpose. So a few things that I wanted to talk to today, like I was driving through my old neighborhood, and the house that when we moved over here from Chicago, we moved to Detroit. We stayed with some friends, and then we eventually settled in on the east side of Lansing, Michigan. Came up here. My mom was working, grinding, trying to take care of 4 kids on her own, and we stayed in this house on Dakin Street on the east side. So I just wanted to take a stroll down memory lane. So I drove through the neighborhood, and the house had been demolished. It's no longer there. It's just an empty plot of land. It's like that part of people who just passing through the neighborhood today would never know that we lived there or that there was a house there. And that I used to I'm thinking of like that was a significant part of our life. I remember great memories in the house. I remember when Marvin Gaye died, and my mom played him on the radio all day, crying, and we're young, first and second grade, and Marvin Gaye had died. I mean, we knew that she used to play him on the radio, but and then understanding the sequence of events that took place behind the stuff and stuff of that nature. But as I was driving by, and I was like, it's not there. It's like no one knows that it ever existed other than those who lived back during those times. So I started realizing, like, your life, like, there's going to be a time where you expire, and will people even know that you existed? Would you have been on purpose? Would you have been on task, or did you just live it for the moment? Because those moments fleet, those moments fade, and sometimes they disappear, or they will disappear. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I started to say this earlier. My mind just kind of jumps from topic to topic. So if you realize during these conversations that my mind just jumps from one conversation, I don't complete that thought, that's because I'm going to pick it up in another video later once I remember what I was thinking. But I was talking to an individual, and I told them, I said, no matter what you have been through in life, you have never been closer to death than you are right now. I don't care how many near-death exercises that you'd have been through and near-fatal accidents that you done survived, how many times you done tripped and fell off cliffs or whatever it may be, and you think you barely survived. You have never been closer to death than you are right now. And the fact is, you're even closer listening to this now. Like the time that I just spoke that, you reached a few seconds closer. So when you understand that, like, tomorrow's not guaranteed, next minute is not guaranteed, then maybe you can start to appreciate the brevity of your life. And the point behind that is to not for you to sit and count your days, how much time do I have left, but it's to make your days count. Like the understanding, like there is a reason for your existence. Like, and your purpose is not just for you. There's somebody else that's out there connected to your purpose. So when you're off task and you off target, then you're going to be putting generations of people who's watching you. Because no matter what your sphere of influence is, there's somebody that's watching you. And by you accomplishing your dream, it allows people the ability to believe in themselves and accomplish their dream. So, and you got to understand, like, you can't be selfish and live your best life. You can't be selfish and avoid adversity. You can't be selfish and say, well, I just want to have it easy and do it this way. Um, you got to go through that difficulty and be able to appreciate that. So as I drove through that neighborhood, I realized, like, man, this this is gone. And the reality of it is like I have the memories from that, um, but that season is concluded in my life, and it's time for some things to go away. So all death is not bad, you know. There are some things like I was just telling you. There are some relationships and some involvements with people that I needed to bury those things in order for me to move forward. And like I said, it's no indictment on them. It's just more of a reflection of where I'm going. And sometimes you can't look back. You know, um, I got to see where I'm going, and I can't be in a position where um, I'm distracted. Like, things don't happen by accident. You know, um, got to be intentional. You don't just happen to wake up and happen to be on task, on target. Matter of fact, there's so many things that's applying for your attention that it's going to take you a lot to get on purpose. I mean, the marketing in this world right now is ridiculous. You put on the radio what they're marketing in the songs. They're trying to tell you how to dress, and they're trying to market what you should be buying. You know, they're encouraging you to be slaves to name brands, um, and people are doing that. They will say stuff, you not up on this or this and that, and next thing you know, you find yourself striving to get those things. Um, but those things don't last, and they're not fulfilling. And I'm telling you this from my perspective. I'm a pursuer of pursuers, meaning that I'm a go getter. I'm gonna go get it. But I realize, like, once I get it, it doesn't really give me that feeling that I thought it had, that I thought it would when I originally pursued it. So what do? I used to drop that, and I used to go pursue something else. I had a fetish with cars, you know, and doing different things to cars, and those are some of the biggest money pits ever. You know, used to have a car with the rims on it, the system on it, and it wasn't just one car. I mean, I used to have cars that I used to only drive on the weekend. I used to have old school cars, new cars with rims on it, and I realized, like, I wasted a lot of money and resources. Um, but I was be washing the cars, I would be waxing them, and out there spending time doing all this. And after you get it clean, you got to bend the corner. You got to go around the corner and let people know that you got the cleanest car or whatever. So I used to bend corners and play my music loud, looking for attention, looking for a compliment, part of that validation thing again. So when you are not on purpose, you will be distracted. Like I said, there's so much marketing. You can't drive down the street without seeing a sign saying this or that. You watch TV, they're marketing everything to you, whether it be the content within the shows or whether it be the commercials. Don't think just the commercials is marketing. Everything in that show is marketing something to you. What they're wearing, what they're drinking, what they're driving, they're pushing the agenda. And I said they, and I just said, the media moguls out there that's controlling the information that you receive, they're selling stuff to you, and the question is, are you buying it? And a lot of you are, and I have been guilty of it. And there's times like I've been sitting down watching TV, and you see a KFC or Popeyes commercial, and all of a sudden you got the taste for chicken. You weren't really hungry at first, but just seeing that marketing, you're like, man, that chicken look good, you know. Or it's been times like you be driving down and you smell something, It's not accident that the aromas of these restaurants come outside when you drive by. You can smell chicken. You go by a bakery, you can smell those freshly baked donuts and stuff of that nature because it's intentional. That's a marketing effort, meaning that what goes into your eye gate, what you see is marketing. What goes into your ear gate, what you let come into your to your brain through your listening and hearing, what goes into your nose senses. I mean, what you smell. Those are all sensory things that will pick up marketing endeavors from people who's trying to get you to do different things. So if you off task and you off purpose, then you will be distracted, and then you'll be wondering, how do I get here? How did I wind up here? And it's by accident. So if you're not getting to where you're going on purpose, you're going to get distracted, by accident. And I don't even know if it's by accident because we all have choices. I mean, every decision that I've made, has either blessed me or I've had a consequence. I was just talking with my daughters yesterday about being consistent. And I says professionally, I've been consistent. I work and I grind, from barely graduating high school to a bachelor's to a master's degree, going through basic training. Kind of went through this thing from Bradleys to Blackhawks. Bradley is the M2A2 miniature version of the tank. Drove those when I first did, learned how to fly Blackhawks. So, and that's even a saying in itself, from Bradleys to Blackhawks. So I went from driving a heavy, small miniature tank on the ground to elevated in a Black Hawk helicopter. So I'm very consistent when it comes to my professional life. Military schools, I got addicted to graduations after basic training. I started falling in love with success of walking across that stage and knowing that I had accomplished something. So I started looking for schools that I can graduate. Even if it was like a 2 or 3 week school, and they handed me out a certificate saying I completed this, man, I was signing up for everything. I mean, there was a period in my life, a decade plus, where I was just, man, school after school after school. Like I said, went to the bachelor's, went to the master's. So I know how to pursue things, and I've been very consistent in that. But when it comes to my relationship with my wife, I was very inconsistent. I was moved by emotion. I wasn't very consistent. I was more moved by my lust and things that I wanted. And I provide a lot of inconsistency in that area. So in one area of my life, I was very consistent, and I received a lot of rewards, promotion, advancements, and the benefits of that consistency. And then the other area, my personal area of my life, I was very inconsistent, and I received a lot of consequences, destroying relationships, just not being able to be satisfied with what was provided for me. So it's just a matter of going through that and understanding that. Why do I say all that? Because you need to understand, like, there's an end. Like, this stuff doesn't last forever. And every day I drive by a junkyard, and my spirit quickens me when I drive by that junkyard, because it's like I'm looking at this junkyard, and it contains a lot of cars, all at its final stages, waiting to be finally demolished. I mean, they have lost their usefulness, and it's not just old cars. There are old cars in there, but then there are some brand new cars in there too, and everything in between. Like, and I started thinking as I go by that, and I reflect, and I was like, you know what? in that junkyard, there were some people's prized possession. Like some people like worked their whole life to get that car, and they would spend hours out there waxing, washing, and making sure that it was detailed and stuff. And they spent a lot of hours, days, weeks, years doing that. And now this is his resting place in the junkyard. You know, and I started thinking like these cars, they didn't just get there by themselves, meaning that the byproduct of them being in that junkyard, there were a lot of people that were injured, hurt, and took their demise as a result of those cars being in the junkyard. So it's like the grave for material things. And started wondering, like, not to say that I would never wash my car again or that I won't be a good steward over what's provided for me, but at the same time, it's about putting it in perspective. Like, man, it's just junk. It's going to fade. The house I was living in it's no longer there. It's gone. The times of mowing the grass and doing all the things to upgrade and make it a better living life is gone. It's no longer here. And then my dog, of 35 years. Ashes. I say ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It ends. But the question is like, what do you do before it ends? And what you do, does it really matter? Is it really that important? Is it on purpose? Like, the reality of it is like, are you just existing? Are you living? And are you just being sold what you should be doing? Or do you know? And if you don't know, don't you think it's time for you to find out? Like, it's no like, I'm going to take a little time off to figure this out. It's like, time waits for no one. It says, you hope for the best, but plan for the worst. You might not have another year. My mom, she used to say, give me my roses while I'm still alive. Don't be crying at my casket, throwing flowers there where I can't receive them. Give me my flowers while I'm still alive. So be intentional about that. When my little brother died over 25, 26 years ago, that did something to me and my brothers and, my sister. But to a greater extent, it's like we became intentional about communicating our love. Like, my brothers, when we get together, we hug and we kiss and we say, I love you. And it's, at first it was feeling awkward, but we didn't want to miss an opportunity for us to say it. And I have friends, I say I love you too. But it's about intentional, about not being ashamed of communicating that beforehand. Don't leave nobody guessing. And Ro, he used to always tell me, man, I love you. And I appreciate what you're doing. I like how you pursue your goals and your dreams. And but it's about intention. Like, really, what really matters? Are you walking with a purpose? Are you wandering? Because both of them is walking, is movement. Um, when Moses was trying to lead the people out, um, they ended up walking in the wilderness for 40 years. They had a lot of movement, they had a lot of activity, but they weren't making a lot of progress. So don't confuse activity with progress. Don't think movement is going forward. You got to be intentional. You got to be on purpose. And you got to understand what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. And you got to understand when people say something to you, don't just go along with it. They got this thing called groupthink. And groupthink is, the theory behind groupthink is like, while everyone's together, everybody's agreeing. But in your mind, you have questions, but in order to just get along with the meeting or to get along with your day, you just agree to go along with it. And groupthink destroys a lot of organizations. It destroys a lot of relationships because people are not transparent. They're not open and honest with where they are and where they're going. They're just going to go with the flow. But this is not a go with the flow type life. It's got to be one of intention. It's got to be one of purpose, because one day it'll all be over. So I've been hanging out with my dog the last few days. Cliff dropped him off to me, and I just wanted to hang out, and spend some time and reflect on life. And I'm glad I did. The first day he got here, there were some distractions in my life, and I'm back on track. So moving with a sense of purpose and intention. So this video is going long, but I did want to share a scripture with you, and it comes from Jeremiah chapter 29, and I'm going to start with verse 11. And it says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans of welfare and not calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and I will restore your fortunes, and I will gather you from the nations, from all the places that I have driven you to, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back to a place where I sent you into exile." And that really stuck out to me today, because it's like we are off track. And the Most High has a plan for us. But in there it says, "You will seek me and you will find me." But then he goes on to say that you have to seek me with all your heart. So it's not like it's not a part-time seeking. It's just one of those things that you got to be mindful. Like, hey, this is not going to be accident. This is going to be an intentional pursuit. So there's some things that I had to be intentional about excluding, so I can be included in the things that was supposed to be for me. So it's getting kind of long, and I need to get showered and get ready for work. But I do want to leave you with this: just live a life of intention, live a life of purpose. And if you find yourself distracted, don't wait till tomorrow to get it right. Get it right today. Start making progress today. And that progress may be you celebrating millimeters, meaning like you may just have to celebrate the fact that you understand that you're off track, and then start that beginning to get started back on track. So that's where I'm at in life. That's where I'm at in rehab. That's where I'm at in my relationship. I made a decision, and then stick with it. So although my boy has died, he has reborn, been rebirthed in something of me. So I decided to put back on my wedding rings, even though it's not repaired, to be intention until the fat lady sings. We were supposed to be final, and then COVID hit, and everything got distracted, and I don't have a new court date. But until then, until the paper's signed. I'm going to walk with intention and be on purpose and not be distracted by anything. So, my challenge to you is to go back and recover. And that's what it says in the book. I will restore your fortunes. Restoration will happen. So, and it's not my timing, it's not me doing. It didn't say he will give you the ability to restore your fortune, so it's not even on me to restore. God got this. He got you too. But until then, live a life with purpose, because one day it ends. Have a great day, Young Kings.